All right, guys. Today we are going to be reacting to Andrew Wilson versus Feminist on why men find promiscuous women repulsive. Jump in, guys.
Well, body count is different than virginity.
No,
Like, count is just
okay.
a running count,
Yeah, yeah.
where like virginity
So,
is
but there's a way
technically
to
zero.
determine zero count would be a virgin. That's what we mean by virginity. Zero body
And
count.
again, like this is where I just think it's ineffective because sexual experience is an important thing when analyzing. I don't when it comes to men
Okay.
wanting to.
Let me just figure this out. Real
When
quick.
one second.
Go ahead.
When it comes to men having this preference of guaranteed paternity, I don't think that this is an innate preference
Why?
because of essentially how different mating strategies worked in different tribes.
Okay. How did they work?
There were obviously polyamorous. I mean, even in Rome, in more modern day
pagans,
patriarchy, like they had like wedding orgies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was just in terms of making sure that children were born, so that the community could survive.
Well, let's test this out. I just want to ask you a quick question.
Okay.
If your son came to you and said, "Mom, I have this woman who's only been with one man, and I have another woman who's been with 250 men." Okay, I'm trying to figure out which one.
I never
wanna
can
be
answer
with
that question.
for the long term, right? Which one would you tell him you would think would be the most monogamous?
I don't think you can determine monogamy based
There
on
you go.
body count.
There we go. They can't
Well,
tell
that's
you.
not what I asked you.
I
can't tell
wouldn't
you.
have an answer.
So if one had only now, what if one had never slept with anybody, and the other one had slept with 200? Which
Okay.
one? Which
I
one?
wouldn't have an answer.
You wouldn't have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, even if I look at my own relationship, whatever you consider to be a body count, mine was higher than my ex's, and he's the one that cheated. So I don't think
Oh, wow,
that
yeah.
determines.
Yeah, they always go to these, weird exceptions that somehow is going to make the rule.
Your,
Well, not in every
your
case.
faithfulness,
Sure.
your
not-
monogamy.
I think that there are women who've had sex with hundreds of men who could be monogamous to one man, whereas a virgin could cheat on him.
Sure. Okay.
I
We
totally
agree.
concede that there's outliers to everything. We're just talking about likelihoods.
I don't think that, I mean, I could even argue that because you have less sexual experience, you would be more inclined to stray if you become bored, the relationship becomes stale. I don't think that that is the ultimate reason why people cheat.
Do you trust Pew Research?
I think Pew Research is a good source, yeah.
So according to Pew Research, women who get married as virgins are far less likely to cheat than women who don't.
Yeah, I think there's a correlation versus...
Up to, well, actually, it gets higher by every one. The metric gets higher per
Is
one.
this the same study when it comes to... I'm sorry, is this cheating?
It's not a study. These aren't studies.
So are these surveys?
Yeah.
And so... I'm sorry, explain.
Yeah. So it's just that the correlate
She's
there
arguing
seems
for
to
two-
be
argue to argue.
that virgins cheat way less.
Right. I think obviously we can, and I don't, obviously correlation is not causation. And so when we talk about causation.
But all causation are correlates.
Sure. But again, you would need to establish causation. I could say that women who have like what you would deem lower body counts would more than likely be religious.
I won't even dispute this.
And
So if you and I agree that correlation is not causation, but all causation is correlation, then we're just looking for strong correlates. And that's what we're going to make
You
the
would need to
determination.
determine cause.
Well, but cause
And
is
again,
still going to
I
be...
think it's really-
Aren't all causes correlates?
One second. I think it's really silly to say that relationships fail or people cheat because of necessarily their past experience.
No, I'm not even saying that.
Okay. So what is your overarching
I'm
point?
explaining it to you. So if it is the case that we're just looking for strong correlates, this seems to be a really strong correlate.
Okay.
That if you're a virgin, you're going to cheat way less. Now you can make the claim, well, have we determined that that's the cause? Well, I think I think even if you haven't, let's just say that there's some other correlations there, like, I don't know, maybe virgins, like, they don't cheat for some other reason than they haven't been with a bunch of guys. Like, they're just virgins are more likely to be brunettes, let's just say.
They're more likely to what?
Be like brunettes? I don't know.
Brunettes?
Like, I can't think of
Yeah,
what.
I think brunettes cheat less.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
can't think what the correlate would be that would be more strong than less sexual experience leads to less cheating. If virgins
again,
are cheating way less, I can't think of a single. But you are technically correct that correlation is not causation. We need to establish causation.
Mm-hmm.
But from a reasoning standpoint, if you're a man, right?
Can you tell me the
Hang on.
Pew
From a
Research
reasoning
study just so I can
standpoint,
pull
I'll
it
link
up?
Oh man, she's just trying. Oh my god, this is all tactic. Let me just take control of the conversation. That came off so try hard. That came off so much hard try hard. Can you tell? She's trying to one up him, not by facts, just by simply these. How can I say this? These. It's. She's trying. What she's trying to perceive is she's trying to take control of this conversation, but these odd ways that has nothing to do with the conversation. Why do you want to talk about the P research? Like you want to do like a got you moment? Well, see, we cannot find the P research. Therefore, you're wrong. That's what you're trying to pull up here. I don't know what you're trying to pull here.
Get to you actually, but
Great, thank you.
From a mystery, send me over that study or the Pew Research data. So
If
anyway,
you just tell me the title.
yeah, I can't remember the top.
See,
of my head, but I'll get it to
see
you.
what I'm saying? Like,
Right, I brought it up in debates and sourced it multiple times. I'll get it to you.
No, I'm.
But anyway, so on the
Not saying
idea,
you won't.
yeah, on the idea of virgins, let's just assume for a second, right,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't have a causation, it's just a really strong correlate.
Mm-hmm.
Me as a rational man, why wouldn't I take that into consideration when doing mate selection? Like, I don't
well-
want to get divorced, right?
I mean, if you do want to enter into marriage, I think that's the obvious goal. Sure.
So then it seems like anything that would reduce me getting a divorce, like having a woman who's much more religious, that's going to reduce the chance of divorce. It's also going to demonstrate to me
I think
that,
there can be other goals, though.
well,
like,
it's also going to demonstrate to me if she's not having sex, that
Would you rather be unhappily married or happily divorced?
well, from my religious standpoint, well, from my preference or my religious standpoint?
Either.
Yeah,
Give
from my
me
preference,
both.
I'd rather be happily divorced, preference-wise.
Yeah.
But I still think you have an obligation to stay married, even if you're unhappy, because
Yeah.
Unhappiness in marriage can be short-term, even
Sure.
if it's only a couple of years. So I still think there's an
I agree
obligation,
with
especially
that.
for kids, to stay
Sure.
together. So anyway.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, so that aside, we'll leave that for a second. If I look for correlates of things, right, that strongly correlate, that are going to reduce the chances of divorce for me, in this case, a woman cheating is going to greatly increase the chances we get divorced. That's just true. So-
Why?
because if you cheat on me, I'm going to divorce you.
So, but you just said you have a duty.
Yes, but there's threshold breakers for the duty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that a threshold breaker?
Because,
really, you're
this
why
would
you really you're arguing why a cheating is a trash. Well, you're arguing why it's not a threshold broker or breaking. Like, this is the problem with this conversation, right? Because she's opening the argument here of the conversation to poly relationships. That's a new trend for a lot of females, right? Poly. Or let's just try things out, right? Let's just be a little bit spicy. She's trying to defend that demographic inside the feminist movement. Here's the thing, guys. I'm not okay with cheating, right? I think cheating is disgusting, men or women. However, when it comes down to men, it does bring attraction. Sadly. Right? Because it's the nature of pre-selection. That's what it is. If a man cheats, right, and the woman knows about it, it creates a high spike of emotional turmoil, which it could be kind of toxic. But at the same time, you know how to move it, or you know how to move around that. It will work in the favor of the man. Now, I'm not saying that's good. That's, again, it's horrendous. It's disgusting. It's bad. However, you have to understand the nature of attraction. It does create some attraction, just for the simple nature of what? Pre-selection. Now, the other side of the man, if a woman does it, it's not like that. Why? Because it's easily available. She had all the men on the world to cheat with no, let's say with no problem. The only thing that she had to do is be faithful to her man. That's what is attractive. She cheat with another guy, that's not attractive. There's no high threshold or attraction. Even if the guy stay with her, she'll be a cuck. He'll be a cuck. And she's gonna lose the respect for him.
Violate the very thing which kept me in the marriage to begin with, which is the religious obligation towards it.
I see. Would the degree of what are we counting as cheating? Is that intercourse?
No.
Okay.
Anything.
Just
Even
like, even the I have an emotional
yeah, even an emotion. I was gonna say even an emotional investment.
connection with X for me would be cheating.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So if your wife said, I have emotional feelings for this guy,
Yep, that's cheating. That's
even
it.
if she didn't want them, but she just still felt
Well,
it.
that's
like,
different. Well, it depends on the severity. Like, I'm in love with Chad. I don't want to be in love with Chad, but I am. That's it. You're done. That's over.
That's it.
So-
Yeah.
Go be in love with Chad.
Because
We're not-
she already made the decision. That's why she already made the decision.
I'm sorry. So if your wife developed emotional feelings for someone,
Yeah.
but didn't act on them,
Yeah.
that's still done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would
Do
consider
you think
that
you
to
have
be.
control over that?
I think. Do I think I
do you
have
think-
control?
Sorry. Do you think someone has control over that
Yeah.
of developing
Yeah.
emotional feelings?
Yeah,
for
of
someone
course.
else?
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
You have
Okay.
tons of control. For instance, you can put yourself in positions where you don't engage with men. or
Yeah,
your
that's
husband,
it.
And then you can't develop those feelings. Very simple.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
I mean, you could never talk to anyone ever.
No, you
sure.
could talk
And
to
then,
people.
Well, I mean, that's
But
just.
you don't just meet a person and go, "Oh my God, I'm in love." That doesn't.
No,
that's not
I
how
agree.
that
I
works.
think things happen over.
Yeah, over
Yeah,
a long
over-
period of
over-
I
time.
agree.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think you have tons of control over that. So, but that aside, back to the
Yeah, you can control that. Yeah, you can control that. At that point, if you develop a high emotional investment towards that person, that means that she decided to do so. That's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you next one.